Right, watch out, welcome back. Okay, back on the build. Hang on, let's go around there. Hang on. That's it. Welcome back. Okay, back on the build today. I want to do something to mount the ECU on to today. I haven't welded that on, as you saw in the last video. That plate that holds the fuses and relays and whatnot is just clamped in there for the minute because I'm not sure exactly where I want it, but I've decided I'm not going to put the ECU down between the battery box and it because it's too sealed and too closed, and also it will push everything too far back. I've got a cunning plan, so I'm going to get back over there and pull the battery out of the way, and I'll show you what I've got to do today. Welcome back. Alright, so what I need to achieve today is the mounting of the ECU. That's got to go somewhere safe and out of the way and isolated from vibrations, so I'm thinking there is probably the best place, as this section I brought down to mount that relay on. It will go nicely in there. That will sit really nicely, just unobtrusive and out of the way. Nice. Now it has to go on this rubber mount. It has to live on that, so it's isolated from high frequency vibration that can damage it, same as the fuse box and so on, and it can do. There's the mount. It's actually bolted to its mount at the moment, and this mount was its original mount that bolted onto the frame. So I'm going to keep it that way and just make some mounts here for it today. A couple of little uprights with holes in that I can put what looks like M6s through and just hold that on there neatly. And then the plugs will face downwards, nice and out of the way. So in this space beneath here, I can tuck these two plugs here are the wiring for it. So that will come, as that comes under, it will all tuck in there neatly and be right out of the way. And that just leaves that tiny little bit of wiring there, which is going to the back light, which will tuck up nicely inside the tail unit. I may even be able to shorten that. You cannot shorten the wiring for the ECU. You just can't, you just shouldn't. You'll cause all sorts of problems. It's best to just leave them as they are. Don't need to do anything to that. It'll coil up nicely out of the way. So there we are, today's task. No need for chat. Make a mount to put that in there. Let's get stuck in. Okay, a couple of you have asked in previous videos for a little bit more commentary in the way, not just kind of speed it up and stuff. Well, this is where I am at the moment, just quickie. That's the first bit of cardboard aided design, CAD, you know, the stuff, we've all done it. So there we are, bit of cereal box cut out to that shape. That's going to be the mount itself. The 2 lines on there represent score lines, which I'm going to put like that. I did in there in order to get that lovely clean fold. I didn't need an absolute fold, it's still a bend there, it's quite a nice shallow bend, but I didn't want it bending in the wrong place, and obviously when it's cut out to that shape, it's naturally going to bend at the thinnest point, obviously, and I wanted it to bend at that point, so you put score lines in, and I want that to bend nice and neatly, so I'll put the score lines in the steel in a second, then I can bend that up, and it's only going to go up. If you look at that angle there, it will be the same there. It's exactly the same angle, so you get a nice symmetry to it. When you look at it, everything will be mounted neatly, and the reason for that is that the factory bracket there, this factory bracket, is the same bend as that, which is quite fortuitous and a complete pure accident. So you can see when that mounts to there, that is dead upright, like that is. So it's one of those happy accidents. I'm quite chuffed with that. That will look really nice and really neat, and that will sit perfectly parallel to that bracket underneath, real tidy. But it's got to be also away from that surface a little bit. I can't bolt it up there tight, that's no good because it won't move. It's got to be isolated. So that's the next little task. Let's get that piece of steel bent to the correct angle so that when I mount it, it sits away from the surface. A couple of score lines in there first. Two taps. Right, it's not often this happens, but I've had a better idea. This is okay, but it's kind of, I don't know whether it's overkill. I'm going to have to kind of seam weld that along there. And if I'm going to do that, I'm just thinking I may as well bring just an upright, just weld an upright straight along that top. This stuff can weld really strong. As I found where this here, this piece on that corner, it just doesn't move. Once you weld it in place, it's strong forever. So I could weld along there, just got a straightforward upright in place. It doesn't need to go underneath and then be welded underneath. There's no need for it, it doesn't weigh much, it's only about a pound. So that will sit nicely on the back if I just weld an upright straight in there. So it just effectively needs a strip of metal rather than a folded piece underneath. So that's overkill. I was thinking probably a little bit too strong, a little bit too heavy, and there's no need for it to be too heavy after all. I have saved a lot of weight with the battery. I don't want to kill that completely and eat it all up. So yeah, change of plan. I'm going to buzz that through. It won't be wasted, I'll use it. It's all scrap. And then I can just weld that along once I've drilled it. Better idea. All plans are subject to change. Right, this is a little dilemma, this. Quite like this, it's quite challenging. That's a better solution, first of all, so I've purified that. That's a bit better than welding an unnecessary length of it underneath. Just weld it straight on the edge. This 3mm stuff will take that. But when I put that on there, if I put it right up against underneath with no movement at all, these holes are only 6mm inside the height of this. So I'm drilling, I went to drill this and to measure it, and I have to drill it so far down on this edge that it's almost on the joint. So where that mounts, in order to mount nice and purdy, it's going to touch underneath. So there's no movement, no good. I've got to come down probably about a 1/4 inch to give it about that 1/4 inch of movement, which means I'm drilling through almost on the welds themselves, which calls for quite an interesting solution. What I'm going to have to do is weld it on, then drill it afterwards in the right place. So once that's welded in place, mark through there exactly where it needs to be drilled in order to give me that 1/4 inch of free movement so it moves around without buzzing or rattling against anything. That's a challenge and I love it. So there we are. And then once I've got the holes drilled, I can round this off and take any other extra bits off it to minimalise it so it looks right. So there we are. Next thing, weld that on there. It's all cleaned up. So let's get it fixed in place with magnets and sting it. That's it. Perfect. Lovely. Four more hours of progress. Now I've got that mounted. A bit of a blind alley. Sometimes it goes that way with fabrication. You think of an option, a way to do it. That would have worked, but then in the end, it just was obvious. It was overkill. I didn't need the plate to roll right underneath, so I just cut it off, welded it along the top, and it looks great. It works. It's strong. It doesn't have to hold a great deal of weight, but there is the issue of vibration. All this is bolted very firmly to the bike, to the frame, to the chassis. That's going to take all of the buzz and vibration, all the harmonic vibrations, all going to come through that. So everything that's on it that's fragile and vulnerable has to be rubber mounted. And there we are, we've got that now. So we've got fuse box, relay, solenoids, and now the ECU, all nicely, softly rubber mounted. And the greatest thing as well is these two plugs which go into the ECU, they literally just fall straight into their sockets. Absolutely no pinch, no stretch, no nothing. They just fall there like they were made to be there. Awesome. And then all I have to do, this piece of the loom here, I'll just have to clip that in when the time comes. Probably a little tiny hole in that, and then a cable tie just to hold it. And what I will do with all of this loomage here, I'm going to get some of that armoured coil shrouding conduit that you can just wrap around it so it doesn't rub against anything, because it's going around new corners that didn't exist before, and it may bear and rub on them, and that's never good. So ultimately you must protect that. And also when the time comes, I'll route everything and slacken everything, make sure everything's adjusted nicely. Same goes for the fasteners. I'm not going to use these bolts, they're obviously too long. I should use the correct ones at the correct time. And that goes for the whole bike. All the fasteners will be gone through, stuff that bolts everything together to make sure I've got the right fasteners in there. So at the moment all this is just temporary, just to make sure I'm getting everything measured in the right places and set in the right way. Now that's it. So join us for the next one where I can make all this into one. So that means welding this onto this so it's one piece, nice and straight and square. I've also got to cut and notch out the top corners at the rear of the battery box so that when the battery goes in like that, you can actually get to these terminals, because at the moment, as you can see, there's the earth strap. It gets there exactly with no pinch or stretch. It's in exactly the right place, but this is definitely in the way. And that's not so bad thing necessarily with earth, but it certainly is with the live side. So when that comes to work there, obviously I can't afford to have that touching this, which is going to be connected to the frame. So I've got to cut that out. It's a little bit of notching to do and cleaning, and then once I've done that, I can weld it all together. So join us in the next one, and hopefully I can make this central core piece that holds everything done. And then after that, I can get stuck into the decorative side of things, putting in the tail light and everything, and then make some sort of tail unit for it. And yes, thank you for your suggestions. I love the suggestions of using fiberglass or clay and actually making a shape. I love that. I'm going to have a little look into it. Going to Google a few videos on YouTube, see if I can find anything that's useful to me. Alternatively, I might just make it out of steel, because that's what I really wanted to do. And I do want to use some of the old stuff that was on the back already, just reduced in size and shrunk right down and used for this purpose, because then at least I haven't wasted those parts and the fabrication I put into them at the time. Anyway, that's a load of chat. Hope you've enjoyed that. Take it easy, ride safe. See you at the weekend for the next one.